With us today is Sughnen Yongo. Sughnen is a native of Nigeria and a graduate student at Grand Valley State University. She joins us to talk about her personal journey and give a West African's perspective on race in America. Sughnen, welcome to Feel Like You Belong.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Wonderful. So tell us about growing up in central Nigeria.
Wow, that's kind of a long story. I don't know where to start.
Wherever you like.
Okay, well, growing up was very, very interesting. I was a very, what you define as a wild kid.
Tell us, this is getting interesting.
I was very mischievous.
Okay.
My parents allowed me to do whatever I wanted to do. I loved hair. I loved to do my hair in various ways, have fun with it. I had plenty of friends. School was I kind of didn't like school. That's a different story today, but I didn't kind of like school. I hated math. But the most important...
Many of us did.
The most important thing from my childhood that I carry on with myself till today is the fact that my parents allowed me to be whoever I wanted to be. They didn't stifle me. They allowed me to just explore and be a kid. And
what did your parents do? What gave them that perspective?
The perspective was, I think they realized that I was a free spirit. And many parents don't realize that about their children, you know.
Sadly.
They want to stifle and mold them to what they believe that they should be or what they believe that they missed out on in their own earlier years. But my parents allowed me to be free-spirited. They allowed me to play. They allowed me to be a tomboy when I wanted to be, you know. And other parents in the West African society, other parents consider that inappropriate. They want their children to be a certain way and act a certain way.
And is there kind of double standard, like the girls are meant to be more docile?
Yes, very docile and subservient almost, you know. So
and that wouldn't have flown with you.
No.
And your parents happily recognized
Yes,
that.
I was never one to conform.
Okay.
You know, I've always been, you know, a round peg in a square hole, what they say.
Sure.
What Steve Jobs said.
So were your parents educators, or how did they have this profound wisdom?
My parents have always been profound. I think it was just inherent in them.
Okay.
They're very well educated. The average Nigerian is, but in their time and day, education in Nigeria was relatively very excellent. And so, you know, they were in their college years, for example, there were British professors, American professors who actually would come to Nigeria and teach them. They both attended a school called ABU Zaria. You know about that?
I've actually graded exams there.
Oh, really? Interesting.
In the 1970s, yes.
Interesting. So someone like you, would have been someone who would instruct them. And so I think that kind of gave them a perspective about the Western world and about what they wanted their kids to be. They were phenomenal parents. They still are. I'm so thankful for them.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Have they visited you in West Michigan?
Actually, yes.
Okay.
Yes. My dad is actually in America right now.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah. He's in Louisiana.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
In a little bit more hospitable climate.
Yes, well,
yeah.
the South.
Yes, indeed. So at age 16, you decided to come to the U.S.
Yes.
What prompted that?
You know, right from my early years, I always, you know, I would watch shows like Tom and Jerry, shows like Laurel and Hardy, Hannah Montana, and I would always envision myself kind of being in that space. The American dream. I didn't know that it was called the American dream then.
Okay.
But I always had this vision in my mind of living this life of luxury. You know, from the outside looking in, we see America as this luxurious place. And for many, it is. You know, life is significantly better here.
Sure.
But at 16, I wanted to kind of explore and move out of my comfort zone. And for many years, it was just a dream. But then some missionaries kind of made it happen. They sponsored me to come to the United States. And I was in a small town called McBain, Michigan. That's northern Michigan.
Okay.
It's up north.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what gave your parents the confidence? Did they want this troublemaker just out of their hair, or?
I think that's part of it, Alan.
Okay. Because truly, I mean, it's not every parent that's going to say, 16-year-old kid, go across the ocean. Yeah. Go experience another country and culture.
Yeah. So I think that they believed in me. They trusted the family that I was going with.
Okay.
And again, it goes back to my previous answer. They wanted me to be myself. And in that moment, 16 years old, I've always been one to dare and take risks and just be wild.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not the typical girl.
Yeah. Yeah. So what was your high school experience like?
It was interesting. I was the only, as you could imagine, in a place like McBain, Michigan, with relatively low population. I think the cows are more than the people there. I think so.
And the only person of color then?
Was me.
Yeah.
In that school. So I had to navigate being, not being American, navigate having an accent, navigate having to just explain who I was.
Sure.
You know, I remember one significant, I think there was one specific incident that kind of molded my perspective of the northern Michigan.
Okay.
A young kid walks up to me and he rubs my skin and he's like, "Does it come off? Does it come off?" And I had to explain. I'm like, "No, I'm just, you know."
And he wasn't being mean. He was
wasn't
just curious.
being mean. He was just being curious.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I actually, if I could just go back many decades to Nigeria, I would be walking through the marketplace in Maiduguri, and small children would come up to me, "Bature,
Bature, bature."
and
Yeah.
Look at, touch my skin,
Yeah.
like this is not what
Yeah,
we do around
yeah,
here.
yeah,
So
yeah.
there is that curiosity.
That curiosity.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And at the I think it can be beautiful in some sense, but it can be it can be beautiful. We can embrace that and turn that into a positive, because I feel like if we're all the same, the world would be very redundant. But
Sure. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it gives you a moment for people who are truly curious and well-intended. It gives you a moment for education.
Education, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Awareness, spreading awareness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So after you graduated from McBain High School,
Yeah.
What happened next?
Well, after graduation, I got a scholarship to a school called Kuiper College. It's a small Christian school on the East Beltline. I got a 95% scholarship. Otherwise, I would never have afforded to go to college.
95% is huge.
Yes. So that was me. It was sheer luck and grace and favor from God. And it changed my life forever.
Sure.
It was a small school, but that was my stepping stone to the path of the American dream, if you will.
What was your major?
Business leadership.
Okay. Okay. And then what made you decide to go to graduate school?
I've always been driven, like I told you, and I wanted to advance myself and do better. I'm doing my master's right now, and I want to hopefully get my PhD.
And what would you like to do with that? In communications?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And Grand Valley State University?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
What's your goal? What's your vision?
I want to move to New York City someday and write books.
Fantastic. What genre are you thinking about that?
I'm thinking of fiction, nonfiction, and technical writing. Okay. That's kind of what I do for a living right now to sustain me.
Really?
Yes. Yes.
Where do you do that?
So there's an agency called CIS Agency. So I write for them. I do their editing work. I also create content for them. And then there's a company back home in Nigeria called Farmgate Africa, and I do their content creation on their blogs as well. So I write for them, and it's pretty fun. Yeah.
Tell us about Farmgate.
So Farmgate is basically, it's a company that helps to connect local farmers to buyers. So in Nigeria, there's this great disparity between selling and buying. So farmers don't have much income because they don't have a target market. They just have small scale buyers. But with Farmgate Africa, they're able to bridge that gap.
It's kind of a broker then.
Kind of a broker, kind of like the middleman.
Okay.
But they do it in a way that is just and fair. So it's the first tech hub for that kind of thing in Nigeria and West Africa as a whole. And they're doing an amazing job.
Yeah. I want to switch topics a little bit because you've now spent a decade in this country.
Yes.
Formative years.
Yes.
And you've had a chance to make some observations.
Yes.
You are West African.
Yes.
Culturally, spiritually, these are your roots. Walking down the street, people might say you have something in common with African Americans. What are the things that these two groups of folks don't understand about each other?
Well, that's a loaded question, Alan. Thank you for taking me there.
We have time.
Well, I would say there's a lot in common, like you said, but then also there's a lot not in common. And it goes right back to the, transatlantic slave trade era.
Sure.
There was this animosity that was created, this kind of seed of contention. And that kind of has rolled down into like it has been passed on from generation to generation. And so there's this kind of animosity sometimes because during the slave era, slave trade era, there's this story or this narrative that Africans sold African Americans to the Europeans and the Americans and things like that. So that narrative still lives on. And of course, our food is different. And of course, they're Americanized. And so they've had that American feel, and it kind of seems like Africans coming in and are outsiders. So there's this kind of disparity between the two groups where they don't really understand each other, and when they try to do it's kind of difficult because they come from two separate worlds.
So at the university, for example, you'll have African students, international students. Do they associate with the African Americans? Do they keep to themselves? How does that work? How does that play out?
You mean Africans and African Americans? From what I see, from what I've observed, and I talked about this in my talk as well, from what I observed, most times they keep to themselves. It's kind of like us against them, which it really shouldn't be because there's a unifying factor there.
Absolutely.
And it goes deeper than the skin color, in my
Absolutely.
opinion.
Yeah. So recently you did a presentation at Grand Valley, excuse me, for a teach-in. It was about hair.
About hair.
You and two co-presenters.
Yes.
Yeah. How did that go?
That went well. I didn't expect that to go so well, but it did. And we touched on the significance of hair, the political aspect and the political tangent of hair, and hair's impact on society as a whole. Not just any kind of hair, like the black woman's hair, And if you want me to talk more about that, I can.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, black women, they wear their hair straight, wavy, curly. There's wigs. There's something we call relaxers that makes the hair longer, kind of straighter. And with relaxers are meant to make your hair more appealing. It's kind of something
More
more westernized, yes, to appeal to the Eurocentric,
norms of beauty.
norms of beauty.
Yeah. Yeah. And so you're sporting a lovely haircut.
Thank you, thank you.
So what inspired you? How long have you worn it this way?
A year.
Okay.
Not the blonde,
Okay.
but low cut, a year. That has been my status quo, my branding for a year now.
Okay.
And I think I like it. It's not going anywhere.
So what goes into the decision making for hair? Because it's really for African Americans. It's a very conscious decision.
Yes, and that's another thing we have in common, hair. But like I said, hair, things that go into making that decision, life experiences, the Eurocentric norm of beauty, birth, history, personal experiences, personality, religion, politics. They're different things, art, expression,
And there is some contention within that hair community about how one wears their hair and some judgment.
Yes. In my society, where I come from, my hair is totally unacceptable. It's not deemed as
You would
virtuous.
get negative glances if you were back in Jos.
Yes, negative glances, wild, I'm wild, wayward.
That's not how hair should be worn.
No, that's not how hair should be worn.
Yeah.
A woman should have long, flowy hair.
Yeah.
It makes her more beautiful, and I don't agree with that.
In Nigeria, relaxed or natural?
A mixture of both, but I've noticed something. Over the past 5 years, natural hair is becoming more of a hip thing.
Okay.
It's becoming more accepted. So people put shea butter in their hair to make it curly, and they leave it in overnight.
There's actually a local Grand Rapids company founded by a West African woman that sells shea butter.
Yeah, my mom creates localized shea butter too.
Okay.
Kind of nice.
Yeah, wonderful.
Yeah.
We have to wrap up in just a minute, but
Okay.
the theme of the show is belonging.
Yeah.
What's your understanding of that?
Belonging. My understanding of that is the American dream. My understanding of that is coming to America and making a name for yourself. My understanding of that is not just blending in, but being your own person is in a society where it's kind of difficult to have an accent, or it's difficult to walk down the street without getting glances. And belonging is just being me in this society and not being judged for it. You know,
Yeah.
the day that I walk down the street and I don't get the glances, and that's when I'll fully believe that I belong. I don't think I'm there yet. I don't think society as a whole is there yet, but I think we can get there with conversations like this.
Well, you have new fans that feel like you belong. So thank you for bringing your authentic self here.
Thank you.
Continued success in your studies, and as that trajectory goes on toward getting you to New York and your goals, we'll be cheering for you. And just thanks for coming and sharing your story.
Thank you. Thank you.
You bet.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us. If you're watching us on TV, stay tuned for our following segments on language and culture. If you're watching Feel Like You Belong on the internet, we hope you will share your feedback with us via our website and YouTube channel. And be sure to catch our many other stories about the thoughtful immigrants making our communities more engaging spaces.